A warm welcome to those of you who have been following along to date, and a big hi and hello to those who are joining us for the very first time. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Chris Britton, and I'm your host for today's webinar. Today's bright business mind is Olga Miller, founder and CEO of SmartPurse. Olga is transforming financial education with SmartPurse's innovative tools and resources designed to empower individuals in managing their finances confidently and effectively. Her work is setting new standards in financial literacy and also personal empowerment. So let's kick things off. Olga, hello, and welcome to today's podcast.
Hello, Chris, and hello, everybody who's listening. Hi, pleased to be here.
Pleased for you to be here. Now, we were just talking before this, and this is something I'm really, really passionate about. So, Olga, tell our listeners a little bit about your story and what's brought you here today.
Yeah, with huge pleasure. So, look, everybody, I'm an ex-banker, so I made my way all the way up through the ranks of one of the largest wealth managers on the planet, UBS, up to ending up being a managing director. And working in a marketing function, I had a lot to do with the clients. So I kind of sounded them out and say, how could the bank serve you better? What could we do? Are you happy with the service? And in particular, the women were saying, you know what? Honestly, I don't really understand all of this stuff. The banker rarely calls me. I feel very confused with this. And actually, I don't think that it's a matter of knowledge. It's just very intimidating. So inside this bank, I set out together with another wonderful woman, Mara Harvey, to kind of change the bank. And one change work stream was to educate people more financially. And so tools have been built, content has been created, books have been written, okay? Only then, when we were testing it on people, they all go like, nah, really not gonna have it. And I'm like, why not? We put so much effort into this. Why not? And they're like, no, it's a bank talking to me. It's self-serving. I'm sure you want to sell me some product. So in 2019, I decided to say, look, there has to be a better way to do this financial literacy. And I stepped out, quit my job, and basically at the age of 42, changed high heels for sneakers and started to build SmartPurse and build a financial educator that provides impartial financial knowledge to individuals who are happy to have it, to businesses, and also works very closely with financial services to create better financial education for everyone. And so it's been my life's mission basically to do this and continues to be my life's mission. And when within this broad field, I'm in particular super passionate about how technology can help to solve the financial literacy gap. So anything to do with metaverse, AI, new tools, that's kind of, Chris, where you will have me at hello.
Oh, wow. That is what a story. What a story just to get the audience engaged. That is quite incredible. So, swapping out your high heels for your sneakers at 42 and at the beginning of a pandemic as well, regardless of what the business is, that takes so much confidence to do. So, how did you do that? What is the secret to having that level of confidence to be able to pursue that?
Don't thinking about it too much.
Wow.
I,
Okay.
I didn't think about it too much. I felt this was something that had to happen naturally, stepping out of the position where I was. Of course, I had the privilege to sound with some very smart people and actually I got a lot of encouragement. And in particular, one thing that kind of stuck with me is my former male boss and kind of mentor. He said, you know what, Olga? I think you can build a great business and still remain being the marketing professional you are. In fact, you could help me to rebrand a whole private banking group. And I'm like, hold on, I want to do this startup and you want me to rebrand your private banking group. And then this so stuck with me because it was so nice. And he kind of looked at me and said, and who says you can't do both? Don't limit yourself in your imagination. So I think is two lessons that I took away from this, and maybe it will inspire anybody listening. One thing is surround yourself by people that believe in growth and in greatness, and dispose and have positive thinking. Okay, the naysayers you really don't need. And secondly, don't overthink it.
Yes.
Something
Yeah.
will always happen. If I had put together a concept, Chris, I would have never done it, okay? But
Because there's too many variables, right? There's too much that can go wrong. There's too much to worry about, and you can't plan for what you don't know what you're planning for, right? So,
and you get scared. You
yeah.
come like, oh, yeah, and then I will not have any money. I will need to work for free. What if I don't manage to fundraise? Yeah, well, probably you will not manage, certainly not on the first attempt. But, you just kind of have to trust the process. Stuff will
Mm.
happen.
Yes. Yeah. That's an incredible amount of courage, even when you go, okay, so I've launched, I've had people tell me that you could do two things at once. You could be able to remarket a whole private banking sector and reposition it, which is hard work in itself, and launch, but launching a business in itself is such hard work. So I think the reason that you've been successful, from my perspective, is you've done what I always tell people to do, which is follow your dreams when you're launching a business into something you're passionate about, because passion is what drives success and is what's going to drive you to be great at it. And if you're good already at something, you're only going to go on to achieve better things. So because you're already passionate, Olga, about financial literacy, and empowering individuals to make informed decisions and understand what they're actually doing, that is naturally what's driven that passion is what's driven your business to where it is now.
Absolutely. I'm passionate about people. I
People.
believe
Hmm.
I believe that financial literacy is such a strong component in being able to direct that money in whatever form or shape, yeah, to avoid costly mistakes, and with that actually unlocking freedom of choice. So to me, the money teaching, the financials is kind of a tool. The end result is freedom of choice, is having the opportunity to follow your dreams, which for most of us actually takes a little bit of financial reserves or at least the courage to do it, right? And so my passion for people has always been the one thing that actually, kept me going. Also, these days, and I mean, it all sounds like a great success, right? I think anybody who's built a venture or multiple knows actually the success part is probably 1%. The rest is you crying over Jira tickets and feeling completely exhausted and feeling that you are not doing right
Yes.
by anybody and being super stressed. Well, let's face it, right? And it's this passion that you mentioned that actually helps you to kind of build up their resilience to keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've now launched the business. You've had the business up and going since 2019. You've poured your heart and your soul into this. What is the direction of travel? Where are you taking this, and what does that look like in the future?
Um, Teaching or reaching more people, being
Hmm.
one. We've been built for global scale. So already today, we hold a UK version of our financial money school, and we have a Swiss version. We tested multi-language. We experimented with metaverse. We experimented with AI, what this
Hmm.
will do to people. So all of this has been built with global scalability in mind. So I'm taking SmartPurse to 2 additional countries in the next, let's say, 6 to 8 months. So that's one part of the mission. The second part of the mission is to build stronger allyships with financial services and with corporates. I really hope that anyone who's listening to this podcast, if you feel that you should educate your clients more or your employees more, just start doing something. They will thank you later, and it's going to make you stand out in the crowd in the war for talent, for example.
Hmm.
So that's the second thing. I wish for more partnerships, more togetherness, because we cannot boil this financial literacy gap ocean one startup at a time, right?
Yeah.
People have to collaborate. And the third thing is really to just put all that we have learned and all the tools we have at disposal for free at the fingertips of everybody who wants to use it.
Wow. So
So
that's something new that you're doing. You're looking to then open that up as a free platform.
yes, actually, today.
Today, fantastic. So as of
Today is the
today,
day.
that's
Today is
fantastic.
the
So
day.
as of today, everyone is going to be able to get access to your platform for free, which is incredible. So where's all this courage come from? How do you go from taking a gated financial content that's driving you money and it's gated to having the confidence to go, I'm going to open this up, I'm going to make this freely available? Where do all these great ideas come from, and the confidence? I need some of this.
Yeah, look, I mean, we did the math, we looked at everything. The mission of the company has been, and it's why it has been funded, right? To basically make financial literacy unbiased and advertising free financial literacy accessible to as many people as we humanly can. So basically removing paywalls and barriers is probably a logical consequence and step. And have we done a lot of business case modeling on the back of this? No, not really. It's just something that I feel is right to do now. So
Absolutely.
no more memberships, no more, I don't know, all the money that one would spend on advertising just to make people pay probably can just be used to make the content better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's incredible. That's an incredible journey. So I will put into the link at the bottom of this episode. I'll make sure that we put a link to your app and make sure that people are able to access it. But I'll cover that off at the end of this episode for everyone. You did just mention something though that I really want to touch on, and you mentioned that you've made it for global scalability. Now, when we look at financial literacy as a whole, is there a country that is nailing this, that is doing this already, and they're doing it really well, that is a good example for us? Or is this something that is really that groundbreaking that you're the first people doing it globally?
No, not at all. I mean, us having a system and the content authoring system to do it country by country, or kind of for multiple countries, both in the sense of language, so the translation as well as the adaptation that the content might need. Mind you, pensions in Switzerland are fundamentally different than they are in the UK, right? That I think is probably a groundbreaking thought and took a little bit of architecting the system behind it. But to your question, are there countries that are doing this really well? I would say the one that stands out for me is, or are some of the Nordic countries, Denmark, who is making financial literacy mandatory at schools, right? New Zealand, Iceland, predominantly the Nordic countries. And it stands and falls actually with being able to start early. And everybody will say, yeah, we need to teach more financial literacy at schools. Well, it's easier said than done, because let's be very honest, none of us have benefited from financial literacy at schools. How would you expect an average school teacher to actually develop and have already the ability to teach personal finance to their students? It is quite an ask, right? So the journey that countries have to go on is rather long-winded, right? Teaching the teachers, then building the confidence, then teaching the pupils. So that being one thing. I think the faster route to all of this is also inspiring parents and caregivers to have money conversations with their kids. And to that end, I did a research study in the UK on 250 UK caregivers about 3 years ago, and it was quite striking. 1 in 5 said, I have a conversation with my children about investing. 1 in 10 felt confident to have a conversation about pensions or crypto, right? So I think if we want kind of a faster route to fixing this stuff or these gaps, it's really inspiring caregivers as well to educate themselves and then have money conversations in their homes.
And when you look at how early you do it, it's a bit like a language, learning a language, isn't it? The earlier you learn a language, the more second nature it becomes. We as a country are terrible at learning languages, but a lot of Europe is great. English is a second language that is spoken so widely, and we're very privileged for that. However, when you actually think, if we did that, but with financial education, it would become second nature. But to your point, that's like asking someone who doesn't speak French to teach French to students. And you want to break that down in a way that they will understand and confidently be able to teach with a passion, because ultimately passion is really what drives a great teacher. Going back to our point earlier about driving a great business, if they're passionate about it and if they fully understand it, they can become more passionate about it and be able to educate better. So how does a country start that journey then, from your point of view? how would they mandate that? How would that journey look?
I personally think when I was thinking this strategy through for Switzerland, so the country where I currently live, I think it kind of needs three things. One is being quite rigorous about measurement. So you would need some form of a body that provides consistent measurement. And I think that the UK is actually quite good at that.
Hmm.
The second thing is run a huge awareness campaign. And that would take all the broadcasters, podcasters, media partners, and whatever, right, to make this fun. And third thing is actually assemble an array of passionate people and tools that are freely available, and through the campaign, publicize it to people. These to me, and then measure the impact, right? This to me would probably be three steps that any country, if it wanted to, could take at very low cost. You don't even need, I mean, the resources are all there, right? Even when it comes to the fact of measurement, I mean, the PISA study or the OECD financial literacy survey covers many, many countries. The PISA study is a globally done study. It has a financial literacy module. Any country can decide to turn that on and have their pupils surveyed,
Hmm.
right? So I think it's more a matter of getting the act together and joining forces
Yep.
rather than
Yep.
the tools and the content not being here.
Got you. So it needs governments to drive that initiative and change, would you say? To mandate that and say, this is something we're rolling out.
Yeah.
Just on a side note, I don't know. Is this something that private schools do out of interest? Is it something that they partake in, or is it really new to private and state schools as well?
Look, I think some private schools more progressive than others, right? The
Mm,
state schools are very much dependent on a large scale kind of tutoring plan, right? That takes a lot of time and effort to change because everybody needs to have an opinion. So some private schools are certainly faster than others. Again, it depends on the headmasters and the teachers.
yeah, yeah. And what their passions are. If they believe in it and there's enough of initiative. The thing is, and I think until, like, going back to your measurement point, until they're measured as a school on the success of it, the initiative's not there. There's no drive or passion unless it's something they're personally passionate about, because ultimately they need to be seen to get results in the areas that they're measured on, right? So by governments mandating it drives the measurement, which then drives the need to deliver from that point of view.
Absolutely. Plus, the regulator, right? The FCA is rather progressive, mandating financial services companies to start to put forward or start to support basic financial literacy, right? There is a whole, I would say, work stream going on in the UK how to protect vulnerable customers, right? And the
Mm,
vulnerable customer groups have been identified. Now everybody is thinking what measures to take with regard to that. I mean, that could be a prime opportunity. I mean, imagine if all the marketing money, just a portion of the marketing money that big financial services firms spend on sponsoring, I don't know, whatever, right? The Formula One was to go towards supporting impartial, unbiased financial literacy. Boy, it would already provide enough funds to do good things.
yeah, that would be absolutely ginormous. That's the dream. Then I'm guessing that's the dream, Olga.
That,
That's where you want to
that,
take
that,
this to.
that's the big dream that I hope that eventually systemic change can happen, right?
Got you.
And that it can happen at scale. As said, one tiny startup or even a huge platform like Martin Lewis is not going to fix this. It needs this collaboration. However, I mean, I've been at this 5 years with SmartPurse, 5 years before, so a decade, right? And it kind of feels that things are changing very, very slowly.
Yeah,
But they are
yeah.
changing.
But they are changing. It's just taking its time. So we have a lot of entrepreneurs who listen, people who start their own business and people who start applications. They work in technology, software, etc., all sorts of different types of business. But talking about software and technology here, because that's the field that you're in, and also education as well. What has been the biggest challenge for you with SmartPurse in getting things up and running?
Finding the right people.
The right
So
people for what part,
finding
though?
finding for the tech part, sorry, in the
Yes.
tech part, finding like the passionate people that really will go above and beyond and be innovative. It took us quite a while to kind of get our tech team together. Quite some mistakes have happened as well, right? So I think anybody who develops technology can sing a song or probably fill a whole record and the Spotify channel with this, right? So no different for us. So I think that yeah is the most important thing.
And would you say that's been your biggest learning curve as well? The one thing that if you could go back and tell your younger self at 2019, do this and do this bit right, would that be the thing that you would tell yourself, or is there something else?
I think on top of that, there is probably try and fail faster.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we always feel that we kind of, or at least I feel, that everything has to be built kind of, properly. And you look at the system and you think, it has to be integrated and it should be this and it should be that, instead of putting out an Instagram post and look whether anybody would even like it, right?
Yes,
So
yeah, absolutely.
I think one can get, especially if you are deeply passionate about tech, kind of getting obsessed by the tech.
Yeah.
Looking back, I probably would have done more marketing, less tech.
Yes. And I think from my point of view, and for those of you who don't know who are listening, I own and run a marketing agency. That's the company behind this podcast. And one thing that I see repeatedly with startups is they put all their money into their product or into getting going or into their development or into research, but such a small proportion, if any, goes to marketing, because people think that they see these viral sensations on social media and they don't realize that that is so much work and takes so much effort to get there, and no money is put into marketing. And actually that is normally what leads to a business failing, is the lack of being able to communicate about this great product. And going back to your point about failing fast, I couldn't agree with you more that people should be working in an iterative fashion. The product you put out doesn't have to be the finished product. Google wasn't as great as it is now when they first started. They keep improving on it. And we say this even with something basic like a website. Get a website live to start communicating your message, then work on what the content is, then work on adding and adding and adding. People try and make this massive platform really big, really quick. And actually, if you work in an iterative fashion and go, right, this is stage 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, and that's what you're going to work towards, it makes it a lot more manageable as well.
150% agree. And Chris, you are saying that all the viral stunts are not a piece of luck then? They are just crafted by hard work and smart marketing strategy?
Well, some of them are luck. I will give you that. I will give you that there, because when someone does something funny and it so happens to be recorded and then it goes viral 100%, but the actual science behind it, there's a lot of even AI that will analyze videos and tell you how likely it is to go viral and what to change to make it go viral and these types of things. So it's hard, but it's possible to make that happen if you know what you're doing and you get your audience right. And again, that's where marketing becomes a science, right? And it's no longer just nice to have or coloring in between the lines, as people referred to it as before.
Yeah,
From that point of view.
absolutely.
Absolutely. So, Olga, I hate to cut this podcast interview so short it feels, but we're actually out. We're over time. We're out of time and over time. But it's been so fascinating listening to your story. So thank you very, very much for coming on today's podcast. For everyone who has joined and listened to us today, thank you very much for your time. Please do connect with Olga. You heard her talk earlier about the partnerships and how important that is to be able to help to grow SmartPurse. So Olga's LinkedIn details are below the episode on the IDL Podcast website, idlpodcast.com. And as I promised earlier on in the podcast, I'm also going to make sure that we put a link to the platform, which is now available as of today, free of charge, for you to be able to get all the content ungated, which is something that is brand new, really exciting. So please do support Olga and her journey at SmartPurse by going online and accessing that content. That would be greatly appreciated. Once again, Olga, thank you very, very much for your time. Massively appreciated. And thank you for everyone who's joined us on today's podcast. We will see you on the next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye for now.